Asher and Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with our next guest who is badass, and I've been following all over the world to do this interview, and he doesn't even know why yet, but he'll find out. But let's welcome to the show from Signs of the Swarm, Michael. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm feeling really good. We just got back from a month of festivals in Europe, and we capped that off with an appearance at Inkcarceration in Mansfield, Ohio. I'm feeling outstanding, but I'm a little, a little bit of a bittersweet day. Obviously, I'm feeling good about the finish of the tour, but I'm sure by now Ozzy Osbourne passed away today. So before anything happens, I do want to shout out the Godfather, the man who paved the way for everything that we know and love. And just express my undying gratitude for the foundation upon which I'm standing.
No doubt, man. Like, I kind of saw it coming, and it's a sad day. What a way that he went off the way he wanted to with that last farewell. And I've seen Ozzy every year pretty much since 1980. Saw him with Randy Rhoads, and I have so many stories of as everybody else does, because he was one of the most amazing people to not only come to metal, but music in general. And just, he loved everybody.
Yeah. I could not have imagined a more deserved send-off for anybody. So,
oh, no doubt. And, I always said years ago, I'm like, he loves this so much that, the minute he retires, that'll be unfortunately where we're at, right. But he lasted through so many years, influenced so many bands. And, if it weren't for him, you and I wouldn't be talking right now, probably.
No, 100%. So it's certainly a sad day for metal, but, no one lives forever, which is a hard fact of life.
And bands like you will carry it on and carry on the legacy. And I was at Hellfest doing press. I was at Resurrection Fest doing press.
What a day.
And I just got back from Ink doing press.
Oh,
and
dude.
That's why I said what I did, because you guys were so busy that we couldn't hook up for an on-site interview, and I kept bugging Nikki at every festival, but I'm like, how about this time? But here we are, and let me tell you something. At Inkcarceration, your pit was insane.
Thank you. That's what we aim for, man. Signs of the Swarm has always been about just all gas, no brakes, as high energy as we can be. We try to bring that into our performances, and we hope that energy sort of, transfers into the audience. And we got what we were asking for sure that day. We know that the crowd was dealing with a lot of inclement weather. There were lightning warnings. There was a lot of rainstorms. So we're just outstandingly grateful that we had the amount of people that we did, that they were interacting with one another in the manner that they were. That wall of death that Dave called for, that was one of the coolest things I've seen in a while.
Right.
We get walls of death frequently, but the one that Ink delivered to us was just top notch, man. Ohio always delivers.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was at all three of those sets that I mentioned, and wild, I had to come back home for the best set of all and the best wall of death and like pit, and it was just like the crowd brought it because you brought it.
Well, I mean, you saw us at Hellfest and you saw us at Resurrection Fest. Those were outstanding days. Those were great festivals. We're really grateful for how we were treated there. Our fans in Europe are wonderful. The staff at those festivals were on top of everything. But, despite all that, no one does it like home.
Right. And how wild is it to perform at Shawshank Prison?
Dude, honestly, that was the big thing for me going into the festival. And I was excited to play, obviously, and I'm grateful to get up on stage every time I do that. But you get used to the routine. You're like, okay, set up, change over. I know what songs we're playing. I know how I'm going to move on stage. You get used to that, right? There are usually no surprises involved when it comes to that. Being able to visit a historic location like the Ohio State Reformatory, the site of one of the most iconic movies ever made. I was actually watching clips of The Shawshank Redemption earlier today,
Nice.
thinking to myself, "Damn, I was there. Like I was there." Right? And it's pieces of history like that are one of the most underrated parts of getting to do what we do, seeing all these things, interacting with all the history, all the cultures, not knowing how many people have, all the souls that have passed through where you're standing right now to be doing it.
Totally. And, it's funny. I can totally relate to what you were saying earlier because my youngest daughter, before every festival I do, she's like, "So Dad, you excited to do this festival?" I'm like, "Well, I really love it. It's a lot of fun. I don't know if I'd use the word excited when you do it every weekend,
Right.
But then the first time I did Inkcarceration, I called her up. I'm like, "Oh man, I'm standing in the prison yard of Shawshank. Now I'm excited."
Yeah. Yeah. And, I've always said the same thing. I get home from a tour and, I have friends ask me, family ask me all the thing. "Oh, how was it? What's, how," and I just say it was work. This is my job. This is my career. After, you get used to doing all of this.
Right.
And it doesn't make it any less magical, but you start to, at a certain point, you start to think, okay, another day at the office. What time is setup? What time's changeover? Just like I was saying earlier, the routine, it becomes a thing.
I have to make it to catering before they close.
Oh my God, that's so real. That is so real. That was the first thing on my mind after we got into Ick. I was like, okay, dude, I am starving. I need to get something in me right now. I need some coffee. I need some eggs, bacon, and I need a cigarette. Like, for the love of God, just let me get my breakfast.
Right. Totally. So I do want to ask you too. Okay. So I ask this of everybody that ever does a Danny Wimmer festival, because I've been doing their festivals for 15 years, all of them. How do they treat artists, in your opinion? How does Danny Wimmer treat artists, in your opinion?
Dude, okay, so we've done Aftershock and we have done Ink now. And I can tell you from personal experience, pulling no punches, it was awesome. You know what I mean? I'm not buttering anybody up. I'm not saying this to, get brownie points at nobody. Legitimately, it was an outstanding experience. 3 meals a day for starters, getting fed. And on top of that, the food was good. It's not just, oh, hey, you're getting fed. Like, that's nice. It was legitimately good food. We had a private spot. We had a green room. You have something that was common with Aftershock and with Ink. You got the artist transport. If you need to get somewhere, they have people who are there ready to go, wheels up, get you where you need to go fast. I mean, it's just, I don't like to use the term rock star lately, just because I still see myself as just a guy, is just a 14-year-old kid from, Cranberry, Pennsylvania with a dream. But I felt like I was being treated like a rock star, and it felt really nice. I can't lie to you, man. It's nice. You walk in, you have a place to change, you have a place to sit down. If you're tired, you just want to take some weight off your feet, there's a fridge full of cold drinks. You can hydrate. You can, if you just want a soda or something, it's there. Dude, big thank you to Danny Wimmer. Thank you to Aftershock. Thank you to Ink. And I'm sincerely hoping that we get the opportunity to appear at more of Danny's festivals.
Yeah, we need you at them all.
Oh, dude. Yeah, no, we're starting to check them off.
Right. And I asked that question because in 15 years of doing his festivals, and God knows how many interviews, I don't even, thousands of interviews, I've never heard an artist say one negative thing about Danny Wimmer Festival. And it just blows my mind in one sense. In the other sense, I know because I'm working those festivals and how it is. But, it's like, that's where it's at. If you, the artist, can be treated where it's a stress-free, comfortable experience, you're going to give us the best live performance ever. And that's probably why we had such a great wall of death.
Honestly, dude, because we were able to, get up on stage with the fire under our butts. I'm trying to watch my mouth, but
you can say whatever you want.
Oh, well, okay, fucking sweet. So we had the fire under our ass. We were ready to go. We were there. You know what I mean? We were refreshed. We were well rested. We were not stressed out at all. The stage crew was excellent, and we were like, let's do this. And it was the same experience at Aftershock.
Right? Because, you do a lot of different shows wherever it is, and sometimes there's issues that come up that the crowd doesn't know about, nobody knows about. But
oh, yeah.
That affects you when you're getting in the zone, because when you go on stage, you're getting in the zone. You don't want to think about any of that crap.
No. Yeah, no, it happens, man. It happens to the best of us. And the audience isn't always aware of it unless the band has to come to a full stop. Most of the time, the crowd isn't going to know if something's going wrong on stage, but we're going to know. And that does affect the live performance. Sometimes it really gets in your head. And next thing you know, you realize, oh man, I've been kind of standing still throughout this whole song. I haven't been headbanging. I haven't been doing my windmills or my kicks. I haven't been yelling at the crowd because you've been too busy thinking about, oh shit, what if my in-ears go out again? Is my bass acting weird? Like, should I change my batteries? Like, are these strings dead? Like, it's stuff like that. A lot of it can be prepped, prepped for and mitigated, but the number one rule of touring is shit happens and shit will happen, and you have to learn to roll with the punches.
Oh, no doubt about it. It's funny too. You did get lucky at Ink too, because one of the bands I interviewed, they had all these tech problems during one part of the show, and we 100% think it was a ghost, because that prison is haunted for real.
That was not what I had heard. We got lucky at Ink for something else entirely. It was funny you brought that up. As it turns out, during our entire set, we were on code yellow because of the weather. So they had their hand on the switch. They were like, if this lightning gets closer, we got to pull the plug. And we're really lucky that it didn't happen. But we didn't know that until after we'd gotten off stage. And it would have sucked, but safety comes first.
It's cool though that you're not knowing it while you're on stage, because
it would have been. It's so much better that we didn't know when we were on stage.
Right? Ignorance is bliss at that point.
Exactly.
Man. And we a predominant amount of the day we were on yellow. So the fact that it never went to red is amazing in and of itself. Well, so maybe that's the ghost helping us. But you know why I know it was definitely it's funny, because during the interview, the only time all weekend my recorder had technical issues. So it's like, I was like joking with him. I'm like, your ghost came and fucked with the interview too.
You're kidding. Oh my God, dude. I have been hearing a lot of, you mentioned how haunted the prison was. When we did a tour, of the facility, and there were paranormal plaques all over the inside of the building.
Yeah.
And after a while, it started to get really spooky, it was eerie. You know what I mean? You're thinking like, Jesus Christ, imagine having to live here. I mean,
right. Well, Waylon Revis of A Killer's Confession, also used to be Mushroom Head. He filmed a video there, in one of the torture rooms. And he told me about years ago. He walked out and he had scratches all over his body.
Oh, dude. Oh,
trip, right?
Yeah, no, man. That would have. I'd have been I've been sleeping with an eye open for like a week.
I know, right?
Yeah, I don't even know how I would have reacted to that. Like, that shit's just creepy, man. When something happens that you just can't explain, dude.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, so that's why it's a fun prison, because there's all kinds of stories like that. But, what a place to play a show. You have a prison next door, inmates, like your Johnny Cash, were probably out in the yard while you were playing.
Right.
And then now you got this fucking insanely great new album coming out
Dude,
August
thank you.
22nd, right?
That's correct. August 22nd, the sixth Signs of the Swarm album. It's called To Rid Myself of Truth. We have a couple of songs from that album out right now. And, it's just, what's the date today? It's the 22nd today, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
It is July 22nd. Yeah. So a month from today,
exactly
a month from right now, that new album is going to be live worldwide. And we're really proud of it. We're really excited with some of the features we picked up on it. I think we really captured what we were going for, dude.
Yeah. And like the most recent song that dropped, Scars Upon Scars. I mean, that's a fucking badass song.
Thank you. Yeah, that song got renamed like 4 times in the studio. I don't even remember like all of the prototype titles, but we ended up settling on Scars Upon Scars, just because it sounded hard. But that one, when we were hearing it back, it started to occur to me. I was like, we're definitely trying to take influence from like what early deathcore was doing, where it was a mixture of hardcore and death metal, as opposed to being like, okay, what are other deathcore bands doing? Right. And make no mistake, that's not a slight on other deathcore bands. Other deathcore bands are killing it right now. You got Distant, you got Lorna Shore, you got Whitechapel, Fit for an Autopsy. They're all doing their own thing, and they're all doing it fucking beautifully. But kind of like how Meshuggah wants every album to have taken a little bit of a left turn than the previous one, we kind of did the same thing.
See, and I love it, what you said, too, because I find that nowadays there's a lot of bands that like follow this formula, whatever genre they're in, whereas the original of that genre never had a formula. It's like, you even take like black metal. Venom was considered the original black metal. Would they be considered black metal today? Probably not.
No, I mean by because the standards change, and I've noticed it too. You mentioned a formula. I would call it a trend. Trends do come and go. I mean, a lot of people take inspiration from what some of the biggest bands are doing. It happens. There's a lot of bands now that I'm hearing. I just got shown some bands from who's going to be our sound guy on our upcoming headliner tour. What was it called? Mongrel, I think, was one of the bands. And, it was reminding me of really early Cannibal Corpse. I mean, like, you could have told me it was a B-side off of The Bleeding, and I would have believed that. And I believe, and I mean that as a compliment, because Cannibal Corpse is fucking sick.
Well, yeah, that's a pretty sick compliment, man.
Oh yeah, no, I was like, oh my God, this is fucking cool. And I what I'm noticing is instead of following trends, a lot of bands are trying to like take it back to the roots. It's funny that, going back to what we started talking about, Ozzy Osbourne's last show, he called it Back to the Beginning. It's kind of what I'm noticing a lot of bands do. It's like, hey, let's spin it back. Let's figure out, where did this all come from? Let's do that.
I think that's how you rediscover your creativity.
I agree.
Strip it all down back to the basics, and then you remember why you started this journey.
I completely agree. And that's what it felt like when we were making the album. Even as far as my approach to bass tone, on Amongst the Low and Empty, if you were to listen to my raw bass tracks on Amongst the Low and Empty, you would notice that my bass tone was super distorted, hella overdrive. And this time around, I stripped it back, and I was like, who were some of my earliest influences as far as like what a bass should sound like? And I immediately thought of Jason Newsted. Wow. If you've ever heard of his raw tracks from and Justice for All, he has one of the most fucked up bass tones of all time. It holds up by today's standards. And, we're talking, some almost 40 years ago, I would say. So you got to think by, 40 years ago, that must have been like the pinnacle of heavy metal bass tone. And I was like, that is what I want to go for. And our producer, Josh Schrader, absolutely captured lightning in a bottle with that.
I love it. I love it. Any final things you want to let our listeners know that we haven't covered already, and let them know also how to connect you guys on socials, buy your merch, all that good stuff, because your merch is fucking badass. And that's the only way you get to other shows, so they can't listen to my show unless they buy your merch, but it's cool merch.
Yeah,
so
that is something I touch on, actually. It's not as much for fans, but this is for other bands who are starting out. I always say this. Think of yourself as a clothing brand, because that's where most of the money comes from, is buying merch. And if you're not selling merch, you can't make it to the next show. You have to put up a good advertisement, which is your show. You have to make good music. So, but you got to think of yourself, how are we going to sell merch? Well, how do we make people care about what we're doing, our image, all of that? But other stuff that, we haven't covered for the fans, man, dude, I don't know. There's a lot to cover, and there's some stuff that I'm not at liberty to share. All I can say is keep an eye out. The shows for our headliner are coming up very quickly, and they are selling out fast. Orlando, Florida has sold out. Other shows are going to do that. So if you're watching this and you're interested in coming to see us with Mental Cruelty, Carcosa, 1056, the rest of that package, act quick, because we're not upgrading venues. We're not putting out more tickets. You got to hurry up.
Nice. And they can't miss your live show, because it is definitely everything you would want and more.
Thank you.
I'm somebody that experienced it straight from the pit and wall of death. So,
dude, I'd love to hear the first-hand experience.
Of course. It's the way it's got to be, right?
Dude, absolutely. And tell you what, sometime after that tour ends, we'll spin this back, reach out. I'd be happy to do this again.
Sounds good. And thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman now.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.